right, welcome to episode number 15 of the VYPE podcast. I'm Will Turboff. That's Robert Gonsolin. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're excited for all of you to hear from our special guest, but let's go ahead and get this stuff started off, starting off with Houston baseball. So Strake Jesuit, which, man, we just talk about a whole lot, clinched a playoff spot. District 23, 6A is getting really tough right now for all the teams. Strake Jesuit defeated Alvin. Pearland Dawson and Pearland are also in the mix right now. Robert, what have you seen from the teams in that district?
Yeah, they've really been on a hot streak right now. They've played really well the other night against A-Leaf Elsig. They had a 13-0 win over them. And senior pitchers, Carson Brown, he's going to Southwestern next year to play baseball, and Andy Martinez. Together, they only allowed one hit the entire game.
Wow. Well, yeah, like I said, 23-6A really heating up right now. And Friendswood, which we have talked about almost every single week, are climbing up the rankings more and more. I believe they're number 9 in the national rankings right now. Lake Travis taking a step back, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Actually, go ahead and talk about that right now. So our Austin rankings, which are probably just now out by the time you all are hearing this, there's a little bit of a shakeup. McCollum and Anderson both went up a spot. McCollum's 2, Anderson is now 3. Bowie dropped down to number 4. Bowie will still have a chance to win the district. Man, that's a really crazy district with Westlake, Lake Travis, and Bowie, and some other teams in there that are pretty high up in the rankings. So even though they've lost a couple games in the last week or so, they're still going to have a chance to win the district if Westlake defeats Lake Travis. It seems like something always important rides on that rivalry game. They've had a lot of games between each other this year, but always between Lake Travis and Westlake, it's something interesting.
Yeah, and shifting closer to San Antonio, there was even more movement as Reagan was the only team to actually stay put. They're still at the number 1 spot, not surprising at all. But New Braunfels Canyon, they jumped all the way to the number 2 spot for another great week of baseball that has graced them.
Yeah, Canyons won 16 straight. I had seen them not as high on our rankings in the last few weeks. I don't think we'd even brought them up before this. They won against Tivy on Saturday. That was their last game. I believe they played on Tuesday night, which is probably after you all are hearing this. So Tivy was their last game. They won 2-1, came from behind. They had outstanding performances from Garrett Thiel and Nathan Hayes. It seems like they've put together a really good team. San Antonio, just like Austin, just like Houston, a really great, spot for baseball. It seems like the playoffs are going to be really exciting this year. And Smithson Valley, who has been very high up, they've been number 2 in the rankings at one point. They've got a really storied history in that program. They're going to be competing in the playoffs for the 22nd time in the last 23 years. They clinched a few weeks ago. In that game, Brandon Taylor, who's committed to Temple College, had a complete game no-hitter. I don't think, Robert, a lot of people are talking about the Madison Bumgarner seven inning, what are they calling it, hitless game. People don't realize how hard that is to do.
So difficult to do that. I mean, just to go a full game and give not even like just to give up a hit or to try and not give up a hit, that's just hard in itself. And to do that consecutively for just 7 innings, 8 innings, 9 innings, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, we know a guy like Baumgartner can do it. I mean, he's done it before, and a lot of people are saying 7 innings isn't really worthy of a no-hitter title. But when you're a guy at this level in high school playing against other high schoolers, that is extremely, extremely impressive. And I think no one should take anything away from that guy.
I mean, can we talk about Jacob deGrom right now on the New York Mets? A 0.31 earned run average. And he's struck out 50 batters this season already. 50.
Yeah, MLB happens to be really exciting this year, but man, do we love high school sports, and we will keep on rolling with them. And before we get on to another sport, we'd like to congratulate the Lancaster softball team. They went undefeated this year, and they're going to be probably, I would assume, the favorite to win softball for 5A, 6A. I believe they're a 6A team.
You cannot count them out for doing that. Baseball, softball going undefeated. like baseball and softball, basketball too. It's one of those sports where you always lose one game, probably. Maybe whether it's a preseason tournament or a non-conference down the road, you seem to always like lose one just to go undefeated the entire regular season. It's pretty
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it seems like every year we have a few teams in football that go undefeated. Westlake and North Shore come to mind from last year. I know there were quite a few more, probably some teams in
Hey,
3 and
Tigers,
4A. Yeah,
they lost
Tompkins.
Hopkins, but
Yeah,
usually
Tompkins. Uh, so you see that a lot more in football because they don't play as many games. But like you said, basketball, baseball, softball, pretty much any other sport. That's incredible to go undefeated. So once again, congratulations to Lancaster. Yeah, so let's get right into it with football. Off season, I still love it. You still love it. So yeah, ESPN had their elite underclassmen camp this past Sunday at CE King. CE King is a team that you and I have become kind of familiar with over the last year or so.
you have more than me. But yeah, both of us.
Yeah, Cameron Kincheon is off to play at the Naval Merchant Academy, I believe. He's their quarterback, and they've got some studs this year too. I'm excited Strike Jesuit gets to play them again this year. So some names that kind of stood out this year that I've seen on social media is a wide receiver from New Caney. His name is Kedrick Oscano. He's apparently an amazing route runner. Van Wells. He actually plays at CE King, so he didn't have to go very far. Sheldon ISD right there at that stadium, and a guy that I've known just kind of following the offseason circuit, Mr. Houston, Mike West, who's very popular within the community. He loves this guy, and this is coming from a guy who's very high on skill position players. 7-on-7, you don't have offensive linemen, but you can watch this guy's tape, Robert. It's incredible. He's just a man child. It's crazy.
Well, we can't forget to mention that Ruben Owens was also in attendance this weekend. He's verbally committed to UT, but I don't know. There's been some fluff in the news that he's entertaining an offer from the University of Alabama.
Yeah, he's a guy that I follow on all social medias. So you kind of assume when these guys are committed, they don't even talk about it. A lot of them do get offers, but they don't talk about them a lot of the time. I noticed that it looked like Ruben had kind of shifted some of his, I don't know, it was a profile picture or header or something. Not a mention of UT in there, I believe. And now it was last Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe it may have been Friday actually. He posted on Instagram, blessed to receive an offer from the University of Alabama, and there was a video that went along with it. So, Robert, if they lose another 5-star, this will be, you can't blame this one on Tom Herman.
No, but Sarkisian, he's coming in, and the offensive line looks for the future looks good right now. Ruben Owens would definitely be a great asset to the team, but I think they're still in good shape if they don't get him. They're still going to have Hayden Connor for 4 years, or at least like they could have him for 4 years, depending on whether or not he goes to the draft earlier. Max Merrill's coming up.
Our good buddy Michael Taff. Michael Taff will be a preferred walk-on over there.
Preferred walk-on. We've seen some preferred walk-ons at the University of Texas actually make their mark and do very successful. Strike Jesuit alumni Jett Bush. He actually, his freshman year in 2019, he actually did not use his red shirt. They actually played him for more than 4 games on kickoff. I actually got to see him in person his freshman year, run out on kickoff a couple times, including the Texas-Oklahoma game. That's a very storied rivalry. Sophomore year, right before the season started, Jett Bush, there was it was a really cool scholarship video. It was just kind of in a team meeting, and Tom Herman walks up at the front of the room. It turns out on Zoom, in front of the entire team, it's his dad telling Jett that he got the scholarship, and now Jett, it seems like he played that whole season his sophomore year. Seems they just had the orange and white game this past Saturday, and I read he had 3 sacks.
Yeah, I remember that video. That was really awesome. Both of us know Jett, but glad you talked about the orange and white game, because I saw A few guys were there. Malik Murphy, who's going to be their quarterback from the class of 2022. I think Jaden Blue was there. So this is what I really wanted to get to in terms of talking about Ruben Owens, because Jaden Blue is the top running back in the state of Texas for 2022. And he is committed to UT. So when Ruben Owens committed, I was thinking, man, it's great for Sark that he's going to get back-to-back best running backs in the state. But I'm starting to think maybe it's gonna fire back. Seems like Ruben, you don't pass up an offer from Alabama. 95% of guys won't do that.
Well, unless I'm not. This is not about Ruben Owens or anything. He's a great player, but I'm just talking about in the general context of recruiting. If many of these athletes are committing to Alabama or signing with them because that's the legendary historical school to go to. Some athletes may choose schools like Ohio State, Clemson, Oklahoma, or schools like Florida, Texas, and even like Penn State or Nebraska. Those are two uh, very historical
Right.
programs just so that they can get more playing time. Not that they
Yeah.
doubt themselves, but that they can probably stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's a nice segue, transitioning to what we're going to talk about here. Shadrach Banks, who is a guy, oh my gosh. I as a someone that grew up as an A&M fan, I was so excited. I'm thinking of Haynes King and eventually Connor Weigman throwing to Banks, just touchdown after touchdown. And earlier today, we're filming on Monday right now. I heard from a few sources that he is in the transfer portal. He just enrolled at A&M a couple months ago.
I saw the same thing too today, and I was in shock.
Yeah, I can't believe it. And obviously, we're going to respect his decision, wherever he wants to go. But Robert, where the first place that came to mind was? Played wide receiver at North Shore. You have an idea?
We're talking about North Shore right now. This is either going to be a really good guess or a not so great guess at all. But U of H.
I'm going to say Auburn to go play with Demetrius
Oh yeah,
Davis.
quarterback.
So
Demetrius Davis.
I think we talked about on the last episode that Bo Nix has 1 year of eligibility left. Demetrius Davis he'll take over in the 2022 season. So imagine Demetrius Davis throwing to Shadrach Banks all over again, maybe for 3 more years. Those guys back to back, the Ring Kings, as we called them.
Crazy. Yeah, and just to think, I was talking about on the past 2 episodes before this, I was just really commending Texas A&M's recruiting class for the future, and to lose Shadrach Banks would be kind of a tough loss to deal with.
Yeah, it would be a really tough loss. They already got a nice wide receiver out of Arkansas in the class 2022. They're going to be sad. I mean, like all these programs that you were talking about, guys are going to go there if they get the offer most of the time. But yeah, it seems like things are not as stable as we thought they were.
Well, have they played the maroon and white game yet?
I don't think they had yet. Actually, they may have. I know I saw a clip of Haynes King, another Texas guy, throwing. It looks like he's going to take over this year. But before we finish up with football, I saw a quote from Quinn Ewers a few days ago, and I think this is really interesting stuff, and I'd like to hear your perspective on it. He said something to the likes of, I'm 100% committed to Ohio State, and he said that pretty much from the time that he committed. He decommitted from UT, ended up committing to Ohio State. I had to get that in there, Robert. But now he's saying the schools just kind of stopped calling. Like he hasn't signed on the dotted line anywhere. He already decommitted once. He could do it again. He's got several months to do it again. Do you think it's the right thing for these schools to kind of back off, even when it's a guy as high profile as yours?
No, I don't want to judge or point the finger, or say the rights and wrongs of what these schools are doing. They definitely know what they are doing. For them to back off, I think it's them possibly thinking that yours. They obviously can see how talented he is. They obviously know how like I said earlier, how invested a lot of these college football players and recruits are in big programs like Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, and then they know it's kind of rare. I mean, it's more rare than common for players to commit to these big schools and then decommit from them. So when you've committed to a storied program like Ohio State, I think it's just them thinking that he's really found his future.
Yeah, I can't wait. I saw him play once. I can't wait for this guy to be on a national stage, and I know he'll be the most exciting player in the country pretty soon.
Texas. They're really putting these quarterbacks in high school. They're putting them in good hands.
All right, and we are now joined by Heights QB Jalen Morrison. Jalen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. What about you?
Yeah, pretty good. We're really excited to have you on today. Vype has covered you before. You had a great season last year. Uh, just wrapping up the baseball season right now. You're a dual sport athlete. What has this whole year been like? Just navigating things
It's
through
just been a
COVID.
it's just been a wild ride. Like during the football season, we got shut down for 2 weeks, so we missed our first game against Dawson and our scrimmage against Spring. But after that, it was just a smooth ride. Won 6-0, first district championship for us since entering 6A and HISD, and then first playoff win since about 2014. So it was a really good season for us at Heights.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're in the biggest district in Texas, HISD, and now you guys are kind of getting up there. Lamar is usually the team that is at the top of that district. What do you think is changing from some of the other teams in the district? Where's this power shift coming from?
Just the culture, just going day by day. At usually or like last season, we were just focusing on winning district, but this year we took it day by day, week by week, just focusing on that week and not focusing on that week and also focusing on the bigger picture. But the team we played that week is the team that we need to beat to move on.
Well, y'all really had a strong track record this past season, like you were saying. You're just trying to focus on the winning district. And down the line, I know Will just mentioned Lamar is known to be the powerhouse of that district, but y'all actually beat them in overtime by 1 point. I actually covered Lamar a little bit this season, and they seemed to be on a roll. And then I thought, how far are they going to go to the playoffs? They only need to win one more game, and that was Heights, but y'all actually beat them. You want to talk about just getting the little things done that y'all need to, like beating Lamar, just to get where y'all want to be. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We had great athletes, a great line this year, and overall we just put it all together. Great coaches and just minimal mistakes. That was our goal. That was part of our game plan the whole season. Minimal mistakes. We got to make less mistakes from the team that we're playing to be able to beat them.
Yeah, you
And
you
that
improved.
along with really good athletes and a really good offensive line, and our head coach is the offensive coordinator, Coach Dixon, putting in good game plans week by week, along with our strong defense. It just allowed us to win games.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys improved from your sophomore season record wise, and you did from a stats perspective too. What do you feel like is going to be the X factor coming into this year for your play personally?
My play just improving my mental game, improving my arm, and then developing more chemistry with my receivers. Because this year we have a new receiving core. We only have one starter coming back
Oh wow.
and one starter on the offensive line coming back. But we have some guys that are coming up from JV or backup roles last year that can play.
Yeah, one of the guys over here at Vype, he's covered you before, Matt Malatesta. I don't know if he came up with the nickname or it had just been floating around. The Prince of HISD. So you go 6-0 in district. Obviously, you're the best QB, one of the best players in the HISD district. Are you starting to feel like the king of HISD?
I feel like the king of HISD last year.
Well, coming back this year as the reigning king, do you think that y'all have more potential this year than y'all did last year? Or are the pieces coming into play a little bit more? Can you talk a little bit about this season as to trying to get to the next level? That y'all are trying to get to the third round. Actually, just trying to, for any team to go to the third round in high school football is a pretty it's a pretty impressive accomplishment because the bracket's actually just so big, but also so talented. And what do you see in your team's potential to get to the third round?
Oh, I believe that we're gonna be able to make it to the third round and pass it. We've been in the same offense for 2 years. Now it's our third year. We have everything down, and also just the guys. We have great athletes, great team chemistry, and all that stuff. So as long as everyone's all in, and that we make less mistakes than we did last year, we'll make it to the third round and most likely pass that too.
Yeah, like Robert said, you guys lost in the second round last year to Katie Taylor. And that's a game that, to be honest, you really struggled in. What was going through your head? Was there a lot of pressure in that game, or what happened there?
Just an off day on part of our team. Like we thought we had prepared for that game, but once they put Bryce Foster at defensive tackle, that was a different monster.
That's one of Robert's favorite players. I'm sure he's gonna love that you said that.
I do a lot of coverage, or I have done a lot of coverage on Katie Taylor because they're just a fun school to watch. But it's whatever fuels your fire for next season, like bouncing back from an off day like that in an important situation, or just learning from it. Whatever fuels your fire, that's gonna just lead you even further in the future, I bet.
Oh yeah, that added a lot of gas to the tank because this year we thought we were going to be a deep playoff team. We lost in the second round, had some momentum issues that game, but that's just more fuel to the fire. Now we have more to prove than we did last year. We have to prove that we can get out of the region or out of the area round, get to the regional round, and
Yeah,
further than that.
and we saw a lot of upsets in that region right there. Clear Falls ended up, going a few rounds. So I'm sure, looking back at it, you feel like you really could have gone deep in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to football, a little bit more football later on, talk about your recruitment and stuff like that. But I was, researching you, kind of doing some work, and I realized you play baseball too. So
Yeah.
what has that
I
been
play,
like
play
this
for
year
Heights.
to you play for Heights, right? What has that
Yeah.
been like, to go straight from football, because the season ended a little late, even, weren't used to going that late, started late, ended late, and then you go right into baseball just a couple months later. What was that transition like?
It was hard. Like me and one of my other receivers played baseball, so we were just putting in work together during the 1 month that we had to get prepared for baseball. But once it took us about a month to get our timing down, get our feeling down, but after that we were prepared.
Well, what do you like most about being that dual sport athlete? Jumping straight off of football, right into baseball season. You're coming into your senior year, and you have both sports to play, or senior or junior year, but excuse me. But just in general, high school, just getting to play two sports. What's it like, just managing that load and still being the prince of HISD?
It's a busy schedule. Like daily, I work out at 6 a.m. before school, go to school, and then after school, I have baseball practice. But playing baseball is relaxing to me. Just a slower pace of the game. Slower pace of the game just feels like it's just you versus the pitcher. And in my opinion, that's relaxing. But when it comes to football, I love football. I love the fast pace of it. Love how you have to make quick decisions and all that stuff. So if I had to choose one, it would always be football.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys to play two sports, specifically quarterbacks. It's funny. It seems like a lot of quarterbacks play baseball too. Connor Weigman is one who we've covered a lot. Are you going to focus on football and well, I mean, after this season is done, I'm sure you're expecting some offers to come in the preseason for football, and especially as the season's going on. Are you planning on playing baseball past this season?
I will play baseball my senior year, just because, or I'm gonna still prepare for college during the spring of my senior year, but I'm gonna play baseball just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. We love that.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of guys that play baseball don't have as much time to do off-season stuff for the football. So what have you been doing personally over these last few months since the season ended?
Every day I work out. I work out daily at 6 a.m. either lifting or running, and then after baseball practice, I'll find a couple receivers to throw with some days. And then over the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, I'm always throwing.
That's awesome. Yeah, you had even after we planned this interview, you got your first official offer, Eastern Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
So what was that conversation like with the coaches over there, and when did you realize you were finally getting your first offer?
Me and the coach had been in communications for about a week, and then they had called. Funny thing is, they had called me whenever I was turning my National Honor Society paperwork, and he was just letting me know that the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach really liked my film. They liked what I could do. They thought I was an intelligent passer, all that stuff, and that they wanted to go ahead and give me my first official offer. And that felt amazing.
Do you feel like there's some bigger schools that are about to call, or do you think Eastern Kentucky is going to be the school that really is going to be the front runner for you?
I'm not sure. I'm just taking it day by day, week by week.
Well, speaking about taking it day by day, I mean, just being prepared for whatever other schools may call your line, but there's a little bit of speculation that you're talking to some big schools like North Carolina, Duke, and even Michigan State. Have you looked into any of those schools at all?
North Carolina, my coach told me that they were looking at me last year. It's fallen off a little bit, but the biggest school, or one of the biggest schools I was talking to last year, was probably Arizona State.
Yeah, I saw them on the list, and they've got so many of these schools have already locked in their quarterback for the class of 2022. So the later we get, I mean, I'm sure better than we do, these spots are going to start to fill up. So what do you think recruiters should know about you when they're looking at you?
I'm going to be able to get into your school. I have a 4.3 GPA. I'm an intelligent passer. Like, you can get me on the board right now. Anything that you need me to do on the board, I can do. Any pass you need me to make, I can make. And I'm also a very mobile quarterback. It can hurt people with my legs too.
Yeah,
and also very accurate.
You are very accurate. You're the epitome of the dual threat quarterback from what I've seen. We're so glad that you could come on here today. Prince of HISD. I think in a couple months, we will be calling you the king of HISD. So Jalen Morrison, we're looking forward to talking to you soon, man.
Good to see you.
Okay, thank you.
Well, once again, we want to thank our guests for coming on. That was a great conversation. And let's go ahead and get right into it, Robert, with track and field. I know this is your favorite part of the show. So
right now it is.
Get started.
So yeah, we had the 5A and 6A regional meets kick off this weekend. 5A and 6A for Region 3 were actually at the same venue, so it was kind of a chaotic yet very fun scene to be around Friday and Saturday. I actually I'm very humbled that I got the opportunity to compete in this meet, but obviously there were much more talented athletes competing. For example, Atascocita's very own Travion McCullough, he ran a new U.S. #1 in the 200 meters with a time of 20.94 seconds.
Wow.
He's obviously going to the state meet. And then we have in second place that we got DeMontre Callis from A-Leaf Taylor. They're actually doing great in the relays this year. They, like I said, that even though they disqualified in one of their relays back at area. And then Bryce Foster from Beaumont Westbrook, he got third place. I'm not sure if he got the wild card, but yeah, lots of big names are out there this week.
Another big name that was out there is Bryce Anderson. And I think it's funny that we're talking about Bryce Anderson today and specifically talking about him with track because if you don't know who Bryce Anderson is, he's a safety. He's an athlete. He's listed as a safety, but he can play pretty much anything. I watched him play quarterback his freshman year. This guy is incredible and he's super fast. He placed, what was it, third in his event. So he'll be going to state, and
Well, like I was saying about that third place thing. So the way they do it for regionals, Will, is the top 2 go to state, but then since the University of Texas track and field facility has 9 lanes, they have an open spot. So the best third place in every event from each region gets to go to state. So and they call it the wild card. But I'm not sure if he got the wild card yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but the University of Texas track and field program would sure like to have him because he got his first track and field offer today. When we were, right before we were filming this, I saw that. So now he's got a football offer and a track and field offer from the University of Texas. Haven't seen a lot of guys that have managed to play both of those sports at the same time at the collegiate level.
Real quick, where do you think he's going to go right now?
I think he'll probably end up at the University of Texas in Austin. He was originally committed to LSU. That fell through. I think there was a lot of guys that kind of backed off after what a terrible season they had. But I think that his top 4 right now are A&M, Bama, Texas, and USC. I think is the 4th one. But he's one of the best players in the Houston area. And just imagine if he just shocked everyone and said, actually, my heart's in track and field. That's what I'm going to go do.
Well, also, speaking of Bryce Foster going to A&M to play football, was at the regional meet this weekend in the shot put. He's one of the best throwers in the nation right now. Will, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Bryce Foster, he's the mountain man, right?
That's right.
He sure looks like it. He threw 66 feet, 10.5 inches on Saturday, which was more than 6 feet further than the second place throw. That is incredible. So he's not only just like one of the best ones, he is so far ahead of it. I mean, that's 10% longer than anybody else in that event. So he is going to get a shot on May 8th in Austin. He came in 3rd place at the 2019 meet. There wasn't one last year.
There was not one last year because of the coronavirus. So maybe this is the year he brings home the gold.
Yeah, and let's talk about our own guys from.
Yeah, so Strake Jesuits distance team, they really pride themselves in what they do, but they're really killing it this year. Anthony Gregory broke his school record for the 2nd time. He broke it at area last week, or broke his own record for the first time at area last week. He got 1st in the mile. Reese Vanderson, the sophomore from Strake Jesuit, got 2nd in the mile. Their teammate, Miles Gillen, also qualified for regionals. First off, to have all 3 of your athletes in one event go all the way to regionals, that just means you're really good.
Yeah, really good. That's an understatement, I think.
Yeah, an understatement.
That's elite right there.
But Reese and Anthony are both going to state to run in the mile. So 2 out of those 9 runners for that one race are going to be from Houston Strake Jesuit.
Yeah, and Olivia Luking, who is one of the athletes that you've covered over the last few weeks. She's one of the best female athletes in track and field. She qualified for state in the pole vault, and she tied her personal record of 14 feet and 3 inches. She got 1st place, and in the 300 hurdles, she got the wild card. So you explained that earlier, which I didn't know. The 3rd place actually, has a chance to go to the state meet, and that was a time of 43.25 seconds. So congratulations to Olivia.
I read that she actually found out she got the wild card while she was pole vaulting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's crazy.
And then our guy Marcus Scott II, who I interviewed last week but was on this episode, him and the rest of his mile relay team, at the time they were 1st in the nation. Right now they're 2nd, 3rd, but they got 1st place at the Region 2 meet down in Waco. As an entire team, they got 2nd place. So keep an eye out for them at regionals. It's going to be a great meet this week, in 2 weekends from now. But yeah, we look forward to seeing all that action kick off.
Yeah, so much action right now in Texas high school sports. You can catch it all on YouTube, but now you can catch Robert and I and our guest from this week on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. So make sure to check all that out. I think that's going to be it for today. For Robert Gonsolin, I'm Will Turboff. We'll see you next episode.